Hello, I'm out here getting some exercise and I had some thoughts. All right, I just had to negotiate the train tracks, but I'm back again. So I recently saw that Adam Sandler movie, the what's it called? Happy Gilmore. Now, I saw the original, and it was pretty good. The original. This one, it reminded me of something that's kind of been going on for a while. And it seems like Hollywood has forgotten how to make comedies. And that's not to say Hollywood can't make a good comedy, because they used to make some great ones. But it's like the art of the comedy movie, it's almost like they collectively forgot. And you know, as somebody who loves to laugh, it's too bad, you know. Unfortunately or fortunately, I like to write comedies. I used to. And I happen to know pretty much exactly what's missing from Hollywood's comedies. Now, should I share this secret for free? Yeah, I guess why not? Ain't nobody in Hollywood gonna listen to me. And people who work outside of Hollywood, perhaps they can benefit from this information. Now, the secret sauce to a good comedy movie is not the jokes. The jokes are going to be there, right? Because what you do is you get a funny person like an Adam Sandler used to be, and they're going to do their thing. So you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about the jokes or anything like that. The secret is the part that people don't pay attention to when they go to see a comedy. It's the story. Yep. Always story with this guy. Me. And it's like a magic trick. You know, when you do a magic trick, I used to like to do magic tricks for my family when I was a kid. Yeah, they thought I was amazing. But anyway, when you do magic, you get the people busy looking or paying attention to one thing while you're getting ready to pull off the next trick, or while you're pulling off the next trick. And in a good comedy, you have to have a strong story. It doesn't have to be complex or convoluted or anything like that. Real basic story, but it has to be strong. It has to be this character or these characters want something, and these obstacles stand in the way. And will they overcome the obstacles to achieve the goal? Because what happens when you're watching a comedy, a good one, is in between jokes, nobody laughs at all the jokes, right? And so, going uphill, in between jokes, people that naturally the human mind is going to wander, and you start wondering, when is the next joke coming? And when you're waiting on jokes, That's a bad comedy. That's not good. Now, the way to alleviate that is to have a good, strong story, right? Because what happens is people get caught up in the dramatic question: will the characters achieve the goal of the story? Happened in Caddyshack, Liar Liar. I don't know, I'm trying to think of broad comedies that everybody has seen. Airplane, I don't know. But, so in between the jokes, remember, every joke's not for everybody. Some people laugh at this, some people laugh at that. But in a great comedy, in between the jokes, your mind is occupied following the story. So the magic trick can happen because you're not waiting on jokes. And when the next joke does hit you, it kind of catches you a little bit off guard and you're laughing your ass off and you didn't see it coming. The total opposite of what happened in Adam Sandler's latest movie. Now, I sometimes wonder, people know how to tell stories, so why do they leave that part out? It doesn't cost extra. The amount of money they pay Adam Sandler or any of these other stars, you can afford to pay a storyteller just to give you a basic story, right? And even if you have somebody who has a bunch of ideas, like a comedian who has a bunch of ideas that are funny, skits, you hire a storyteller to give you a basic framework of a story so that you can include all those funny skits, but they're all worked in to the story. You don't stop the story to tell a joke. It's all part of it. And that's when the magic happens. Seems like a small thing, but it's huge when, in terms of a good comedy. Now, the same thing happens with comedy as with action movies. If you're waiting for the next action set piece and the story is so ridiculously thin, Tom Cruise, right? Mission Impossible, right? There's no excuse for that. The best action movies, it's the same as comedy. The secret is not the action set pieces, it's the story. Because in between, people start following the story. And then they're not waiting for your next action scene or your next joke or comedy bit. And it hits them unexpectedly sometimes. And that's when the magic happens. Now, with the last Mission Impossible was directed by Macquarie, who, in my opinion, was a screenwriter of one of the best screenplays ever written, The Usual Suspects. So there really is no reason why they didn't have at least a passable story. So if you take a story first approach, then it frees up your funny people to be funny in a comedy and your action people to do their thing in the action story, right? But you can't just skip over that part. That's the part that adds the magic. All right, I'm gonna finish this walk here. It's real hot out tonight, but that's okay. All right, I'm out. just to finish the thought that I was having on the storytelling. Um, when it comes to creating your story, you don't want to just make up stuff. Like in the Adam Sandler movie, the Happy Gilmore 2, everything felt contrived, right? When the reason for what happens next in your story is because the writer says so, and it's not because the character lives this way, or that's the way the world works that the character is inhabiting, then it's not going to have the magic, right? So as a storyteller, the stories can be simple, right? A simple story is a great story, but try to connect to source and channel that story through as a writer, so it's not just you making stuff up. It's coming from someplace outside of you, right? I'll talk more about that later or over time, because it's kind of a lot to just talk about real quick. But yeah, and if you don't know or how to get to that point, hire somebody like me. That's problem solved. It's not that humans aren't these big infinite beings, but when we're here in the third dimension, everything is limited and cut off. So if we're sitting there making up stuff and writing it down, that story is going to be very limited and it's going to feel contrived. And that's, right now, it's easy to control, and that's why almost everything Hollywood's putting out now is like very, very three-dimensional, contrived. And then this happened, and then this happens, and it's just people making stuff up, as opposed to people tapping into source energy and bringing it through so that it feels like it's real from another multi-dimensional aspect, like in the movie Everything All at Once, whatever, somewhere out there in these multi-universes, this story really took place. That's how it should feel. That's when the magic is happening. In terms of when I say writing from source, you remember in the Matrix that scene where Morpheus, and they're trying to break into his mind, and the like sine waves, they're like going in one direction, and then after his mind breaks, the waves go in the opposite direction, and they have like flow. They can access his mind, and everything can flow through. That's what I mean. I mean, in our day-to-day lives in the third dimension here, our minds have to work a certain way, right? And when we connect to source, the waves move a different way, right? So that's that. So when I recorded the first part of this video, the movie The Naked Gun 2025 had not been released yet, but having seen the movie since then, I'm happy to report that people in Hollywood, there are people who do actually still know how to make a good comedy movie and use the story to fuel the jokes and keep the action and the whole thing moving forward. If you want to see the difference, watch Naked Gun 2025 back to back with Happy Gilmore 2, and you can see what it looks like when story is working with the jokes and when it's not. Unfortunately, on that particular movie, Happy Gilmore 2, Netflix and Adam Sandler, it was a miss, and they just, Adam Sandler's done a lot of great stuff over the years, so it's not like a big deal to him. But yeah, I'm going to include some clips from the audio podcast from the WGA, I guess it's called the WGA podcast, I can't remember. But the people from the Naked Gun actually talk about how they relied on story more than the jokes in order to create something that actually worked. So stay tuned.
Most of your drafts more be about alts and jokes, or do you feel a lot of your drafts?
No, we were working on story as much as jokes, and story would
Story
change as
before
much as
anything else.
jokes.
Story two was the first. I think the first at least 2 weeks was almost entirely story with some comedic ideas that we would throw up there. But
And then mostly we would talk about story. I mean,
Yeah, I remember that board. That board was so intimidatingly scary because the whiteboard was just us putting, breaking it like any other normal story, and the slugs of what's happening are so empty. They're not funny.
It's counterintuitive, but if you want to make a good comedy, you focus on story first, and then the jokes and the humor will just flow.
You have to write the story first. You have to break the story first. It's not about the comedy until you have a story that you like can hang all of those things on top of, that that you could even move forward. It was very scary, but I mean that we really were like just looking at story for a while.
like you think about Naked Gun and people leave that movie and go, "Oh, the story didn't matter. It was just a bunch of jokes. The jokes are so good." But if the story wasn't working, you would never enjoy any of the jokes. If it was confusing, the moment you're confused, you can't laugh at a joke. If it was boring, you're bored, and then you're not enjoying the jokes.
And there you have it. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one.